What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I've had several comments asking me to do this video. Explain why I bought a Volvo and not a Peterbilt. A whole lot of people tell me should have bought a Peterbilt. Volvo's junk. Volvo's ugly. Volvo this. Volvo that. Gotta buy a Peterbilt. Gotta buy a Peterbilt. Everybody says you gotta buy a Peterbilt. Well, I'm gonna explain in this video why I didn't buy a Peterbilt, and I'm gonna explain from my point of view on the truck's mechanical side, and I'm gonna explain the financial side. And then you can make the decision from there for yourself. Whatever you got to do makes sense to you. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate comments, I'm sure, for doing this video. I'm probably gonna get some that don't even watch the video, because I'm probably gonna put a title on here just to make the Peterbilt drivers mad. But anyway, it's all good. We all in this together. So let's get right into the video. I'm gonna show y'all why I bought a Volvo. You know, not saying you should, but I'm just doing the video explaining why I did, because it made sense to me. First thing you need to know is all of these used trucks are junk. Every one of them. They're just a bunch of metal. They all leak oil. They're all junk. Alright, so I got pros and cons of each one of them that I can think of right off the top of my head. I'm sure there's some I missed. But we're going to start with the Freightliner over here. Freightliners are very popular, very common fleet trucks. Nothing wrong with Freightliner. They're cheap, they're lightweight. You can get parts about anywhere. They got the biggest dealer network around. They have the cheapest parts. You can get a Cummins engine with the Eaton transmission in them, but most of them you see will be, if it's an older truck, it's going to be the 12.7 Detroit or a 14-liter Detroit. Both of those were good engines. I don't know a whole lot about the DD15. Some people love them, some people hate them. And the cons on that truck is the dash. This is what really held me off from buying a Freightliner. Is I have a friend of mine who's got a Columbia, and the dash on all the Columbias I've seen, which is the most common in the older trucks, and then I went to the Cascadia, and I'm not sure they're any better, but the dash just falls apart, like going down the road and stuff. Pieces of the dash falling off on the floor. You go through some of these rough roads and everything. The dash layout, where the dash does not angle in like the old FLDs and the classics and the Peterbilts and stuff, where the dash leans in, the Columbia and Cascadia dash don't come in enough. You can't reach any of the buttons, and they're kind of poorly laid out. So that's the biggest two reasons that I did not go with a Freightliner, that right there. They have air leaks, and the parts seem to break more frequently. Basically just what I just said about the dash and stuff falling out and the floor and stuff. Matter of fact, my friend had a leveling valve go bad on his. It started leaking air. He bought a brand new leveling valve and put it on there and everything. And within a month and a half, it was leaking air as well. So it just seemed like the parts, they're cheaper, they're available, but it seems like you got to change them more frequently. The Volvo is cheap as far as a used truck. They're a little more expensive than the Freightliner, not much. They have a well laid out dash and controls. I really like this about the Volvo trucks. Like the headlight switch and stuff, you don't got three switches over here to try to flip and figure out which ones is your headlights. You got one knob, turns on. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that. Peterbilt drivers love all the switches over here, all that. That's all fine and dandy, but I like simplistic. I like the instrument cluster on the Volvos, that it tells you your diagnostic codes. If you have check engine light come on and you're on the side of the road somewhere, you can pull over, go into diagnostic mode, and it'll tell you what those codes are, and you can get on your phone and look it up on Google and see if it's something, at least you got an idea what it might be, if it's something you can fix yourself, or when you call to get somebody, you can kind of tell them what it is. I really like that. Some people don't care. So they're comfortable. And most people will tell you that Volvo is one of the most comfortable trucks, especially for a shorter driver. Now, if you're 6'2", 6'3", you might run into some legroom issues. They don't seem to have quite as much legroom as, say, the Freightliners and Peterbilts, Kenworths do, because they have the cabinets and stuff behind the seat. The seat doesn't go back far enough. But they're available with the Cummins engines and the Eaton transmission. And the reason I put this on all of them is because if you're buying Peterbilt or Kenworth, that's really your only option now, and it has been for a while, because the last good engine that I know of other than the Cummins, and the Cummins it's not the greatest engine out there, but it's the best of the choice that we got. The last really good engine that Peterbilt Kenworth had was a 6NZ Caterpillar, which is a single turbo. They quit making it in 2003. So then they had the Caterpillar Acert engine. They had all kind of trouble with them. I'm sure you guys have heard the stories. So then they come out with the PACCAR engine. They had a lot of trouble with those. Volvo had their D13 and all that. They had trouble with those, the injector cups and whatnot. And then, as I say, I don't know a whole lot about the DD15 engine, but I know that the other Detroit engines were good engines. So that's why I listed, you can get the same engine. That way you're comparing apples to apples. You can get that in any one of them. And that's why I wanted to go with the Cummins engine, heat transmission. You know, it's the same thing that you're running in the Peterbilt Kenworth. I already mentioned the instrument cluster, the diagnostics. It has been said that these are safer. Now, I don't know if that is 100% true or not, but they have a steel cab. The cab on the Volvos is steel. Everybody else uses an aluminum cab. Volvo uses a steel cab. Volvo has a driver's side airbag. The cons on the Volvo are few that I've found. The parts are expensive. You're going to pay twice for these what you're going to pay for Freightliner parts in a lot of cases. They're heavier than a Freightliner because of the steel cab and whatnot. They're a little better made, seem to me. The air leaks, the air fittings they use on the Volvos when they get older, they're push connect fittings. They have O-ring in there that deteriorates and they leak air everywhere. You got to go change all the fittings. You're constantly going to be changing fittings unless you just go ahead and do it. And the pass-through, they call it a pass-through, where your airlines go into the cab. It's a little plastic connector. It has those in there. You have to replace that as well. I mean, it's not a huge expense, but it is a little bit of expense. So it's a little bit of a pain in the butt because you're going to have some air leaks. Especially seem to they come in the wintertime a lot too. Those O-rings, they get old, and in the wintertime they shrink up even more. You have more air leaks. So that's something you got to stay on top of. Change all of them out, or you're going to be dealing with it all the time. Okay, well, let me go to the Peterbilt and Kenworth columns, and then we'll come back to what I got wrote down on the bottom. So the Peterbilt, the resale is going to be obviously way better than these over here. And that's kind of why I got Volvo and Freightliner together and Peterbilt and Kenworth together, because these two here are going to be priced similar, as well as these two here are going to be priced similar in the used truck market. They look cool. They both have that in common. Both the resale, they look cool. They also are pretty well laid out. I think you can get to the switches and buttons and stuff. They're also a comfortable truck. You got the same Cummins engines and heating transmissions as you do in the Volvo. Alright. The cons of these are, they're also heavy, like the Volvo. They are expensive in the used market. They hold their value better than these, which is good if you're buying a new truck. If you're buying a used truck, not so much. You want something that has already lost its value in order to get a better deal. The parts are expensive, a lot like the Volvo. You have less visibility and less turning radius on both of these. I know a guy that had just bought a 2019, he bought it about this time last year to get the tax write-off and everything, and he had a classic XL Freightliner. I think it was a 2000, I don't know, 2000, 2001, and it was getting pretty old, pretty tired. He decided he wanted a new truck. He always liked Kenworth trucks. He went and bought a brand new Kenworth 900, W900, and the thing turns like a barge, I swear. The place that we load out of, he calls it the same place that I do. You go in and you have to make a U-turn like this right here, and then you back up into a loading bay. So when you pull in, you kind of go in here, you make a U-turn. There's about 50 foot between these two roads right here. The short hood trucks, Volvo, Freightliner, and even his classic would turn sharp enough to make this turn and back up in this bay without hitting it again. They always got lumber and stuff stacked out here, and it's hard to maneuver this. But the truck that he has now, he has to usually back up twice to turn sharper, sometimes 3 times if they have extra lumber stacked out there. And I think he said the truck was a 268-inch wheelbase. So they're harder to maneuver around, and the lumber yards that I go to, some of them you have plenty of room, it's not a big issue, but they use a really short truck. They use day cab trucks and about 40 to 45 foot trailers with the forklifts hanging off the back of them, and the axles are scooted forward for that forklift to go up under there. So they set lumber all out in the way. So maneuverability is also a concern. I mean, you can get it in there. I mean, if you take enough time, you can back up, pull up enough times. Yeah, you can get a longer truck in there, but it's more aggravation. It's harder to see out of them when you're in those situations because of the way the hood is and everything. You can't really see if there's something over there on the ground as well. So it's just something I wanted to point out. I'm sure everybody goes, oh, it's not a big deal. Yeah, you can make do, and it's not that big of a deal. I just want to put it out that, you know, the visibility is less. The turning radius is not as good as a shorter hood truck. That's just the cons of having the long hood trucks without the setback axle. So we'll get back over here to the year models. If you're looking for a 2005 to 2017 truck, that's going to cover what most of the used market. Nobody probably is going to be looking at a used truck older than 2005 unless, or that'd be 15 years old because it's going on 2020, unless it would be an old school Peterbilt or Kenworth that somebody has restored or took really good care of, and you know the paint's good and everything. But for the most time when these trucks get 15-year-old, they're getting to be pretty junky, pretty raggedy. You can find a few clean ones here, there, and yonder. But what I want to point out was these trucks generally run from 15,000. You can find some less than that. I know they're going to be a complete piece of junk usually, but from 15,000, that's something that you could probably do a little work on and haul a load and make some money with. You might find one for 10. I don't know. There's some deals out there, but just a general. That's why I got ish, 15,000 ish, up to 2017. You're looking at 65,000-ish. The miles on these are going to range from 1 million to 400,000. Most people is probably going to be right in the middle of here. They're going to try to buy trucks with, 450 to 600,000 miles, and they're going to be in a $35,000 to $40,000 price range. Okay. Now let's look. This is for Volvo and Freightliner. Now let's look at the Peterbilt and the Kenworth trucks over here. So again, we got the same 2005 to 2017 year models because this is the kind of a broad span and what most people that's looking for a used truck is going to be looking for. And most of the time, they're going to find something in the 2012 or 2014 range. Your prices on the Peterbilt and Kenworth, if it's a decent truck that looks good, it's been taken care of, it's probably going to start about $45,000-ish. You may find some a little bit cheaper, 40. Probably going to find some at 50 or better, on up to about $105,000 from what I've seen. Truck drivers will always buy these trucks right here. Truck driver mentality, got to have a big hood. They're always going to buy it. It don't matter if it was double this price right here, and it made no sense. Truck driver is going to buy this and talk down to everybody that don't have one. It's kind of it's like the Ferrari or Lamborghini of the trucks. You just got to have one. If you're anybody out on the road, you got to have one of these. All right, so enough of that. Let's go back over here, right here to the financial part of it. That's a $40,000 spread. If you look at any of these, a $35,000 to $40,000 truck versus up towards $80,000 for a 2012, 2014 and a long hood truck, that's going to do the same job. So on a $40,000 spread, you can figure on a used truck your interest rate probably 10.9. That's going to vary up or down depending on your credit. But let's just say you bought a 2007 model truck, you wanted pre-emissions for $20,000. Or around that 800,000 miles, okay? Let's say you bought a Peterbilt with the same thing. You had to pay $60,000 for this truck, with 800,000 miles. So that's a $40,000 spread at 10.9% interest. You paid $54,671 for a truck that's going to do the same job because it has a hood on it and you can look cool. This is what's known as dumb. You with me? Alright, let's say you have to rebuild the engine in this truck. You had $25,000. Okay? So now you got $45,000 in this truck. You might can make that work. You might can. You might can borrow enough money, you might can make that work and where you don't go out of business. Let's say the engine goes out in this truck kit because it's the same engine. They're both Cummins engines. Okay? They both have 800,000 miles on them. You're going to have $85,000 in this truck. That's going to be hard to make them payments right there while you're looking at that hood and it's not going down the road. You can sit out there and look. It's going to be hard to make these payments. $85,000. Alright, your business plan. You need a business plan. You can look at a used cheap truck. You can look at a used Peterbilt or Kenworth. I didn't put that on there, but used Peterbilt or Kenworth, or you can look at a new truck. Let's say you got $20,000 saved up and you need a truck. Which one of these are you going to look at? Well, there's options for everybody. If you have $20,000, you can go look at trucks that are $20,000 cash that you can buy and you got the title in your hand. Okay? If the engine blows up in this truck or you have some kind of expensive major repairs, it's possible that if you have good credit that you can go to the bank. You say, I got this truck right here. I've just bought it. I paid $20,000 for it or whatever. I've got the title to it here. The motor went out, whatever. I need to borrow whatever it's going to take against this title right here. Here's the title to secure this loan. I need to borrow this amount of money to get this truck back going to stay in business. And there's a good chance that you can do that. Banks don't really like to loan money on trucks, but if it's a good clean truck, it's paid for, you have good credit, and if it's a bank that you've dealt with before or your local credit union, it's possible that they will loan you the money to fix the truck and you can stay in business. If you buy this used Peterbilt right here or Kenworth and you pay $60,000, $80,000 for this truck, the engine blows up. Okay? What are you going to do? You done put your $20,000 down, so you owe $40-something thousand on this truck. The engine blows up. The truck's not worth what you owe on it. You don't have anything to put up for collateral to borrow money on it. You can't make the payments because you have no money. You got no income because you got no truck because the engine's blowed up. How's that going to work out for you? It's not going to turn out good for you, I can tell you. The next thing you can do is you can buy a brand new truck. That's what the guy I was talking about with the KW did. He bought a brand new truck. He put $20,000 down. Everything on that truck is under warranty. If the motor goes out within the first, whatever it is, 4 or 5 years, it's under warranty. So you can run that truck. You can expect that truck to do good. Now there is cases where you get a bad truck. You can buy a piece of junk truck in any of these price ranges, whether it be from $15,000 to $150,000. Think about the international trucks that the companies bought that had the Max Force engine. Those trucks didn't make it 200,000 miles. They ran out of warranty, and trucking companies going out of business like crazy. So you can buy, in any one of these price ranges, you can buy a piece of junk. It doesn't matter. But if you buy a new truck like this, it makes sense to buy a long hood truck because it's going to hold its value better and it's under warranty. You don't have those issues of being broke down on the road and all that stuff because it's covered. And you're taking care of the truck, and if you have a proper business plan, you can make it work. This truck's probably going to run you $2,500 a month-ish. This truck's probably going to run you, I don't know, $1,400. I didn't figure this up, but I'm just guessing. So that's really not a far stretch, considering that you've got to worry about if the engine blows up in this. If it's a later model truck that has emissions, you're going to be going to have that worked on, regardless. Where if it has it, you're going to be getting it worked on. If it's a new truck, it'll be under warranty for a while. So that's something to look at. Your payment, if the truck's on the road, there's not that much difference in them for what you're getting. You're getting a truck that's going to last longer, and everything's under warranty. So it's definitely something to look at if that's what your business plan is, and if you're not very mechanically inclined. So I like this plan over here, is what I like. That's my plan, what I'm going with, and I'm going to explain that a little more over here in just a second. Buying a cheaper truck, the motor blows up, we'll put a motor in it and go on about our way. So the reason I like the Volvo is obviously it has a few cons from what I've found. There's a whole lot of pros for me. The 2004 to 2018 had the same body style. Why is that important? Well, it's really not, but it looks more modern. You cannot really tell if the truck is 2005 or 2006, mine's a 2006, but you cannot really tell if you repaint that truck and you make it clean, you cannot tell the difference in it in a 2017, 2018. So I can take a 2006 model truck that you can buy down here in this price range, and I can fix it up, and I can make it look like a truck that's in this price range, that's worth $65,000. Now, you won't get that for selling it, obviously, but going down the road, it looks like a 2016, 2017 truck that's clean, that's worth, $60,000. So that's kind of somewhat important as far as an appearance. You want, your truck to look nice, obviously, unlike my old one. It helps. And but at the end of the day, most of these shippers and receivers don't really care if you got a Kenworth, Peterbilt, Volvo, or Freightliner. They care that you get their freight there safely and on time. The only thing that I've ever heard that shippers prefer is there's a lot of them that don't want trucks over 10 years old. There's some of them that don't want trucks over 7 years old. That sort of thing. That's going to affect you whether you're buying Peterbilt, Kenworth, Volvo, Freightliner, whatever. That same rule is going to affect you. They don't care one way or the other whether you got a long hood truck or short hood truck. They want the freight there, not damaged, safely and on time. That's what they want. So this is just my thinking on all of this and why I bought the Volvo. It makes more financial sense for me just because I don't care about the look. I'm not worried about looking cool. If I was worried about looking cool, I'd do something besides drive a truck. But anyway, I'm not worried about resale because I don't plan to sell it. And for the $40,000 difference, I wouldn't have to. I could park it in the pasture, I could just park it out in the pasture somewhere, let it rot. It doesn't matter. Still save $54,000 over what I'd paid over a Peterbilt or Kenworth with the interest on it. The fuel mileage, a lot of people is going to say that's a pro on the Volvo and the Freightliner is the fuel. But from what I found, the long hood trucks actually don't do that bad, especially if they're mid-roof and pulling a flatbed application versus these trucks here are fleet trucks and they're going to be condo trucks. And running a condo truck in a flatbed situation is not going to be much different fuel mileage than a long hood truck. So fuel mileage, that's why I didn't throw that in there. I've seen some long hood trucks get better than some of the short hood trucks actually. So it all depends on the engine program and the drivers and whatnot, that sort of thing. Alright, we're going to go over here to the right hand column and talk about the best trucks out there. The first best truck that you're going to find, hope this is picking up on camera over there, but it's going to be one that belongs to someone else. This is going to be your best, most problem-free truck right here. one that does not belong to you. It's not your problem. The second best truck that you're going to find is one that is reliable. Reliable and paid for. This truck here is going to make you more money. Well, you're not going to earn any more money, but you might get to keep more money. So let's do this. Keep more money. It's not going to make you any more money. It's going to let you keep more money. It's going to give you the best chance at success and staying in business when things get slow and rates are down. Alright, this is what I'm going with right here. This is what I want. I want a reliable truck. It's paid for and I don't have to worry about it. Because this gives me the best chance at success, staying in business, and when things get slow and rates are down, I'm not nearly as worried about it. I'm not making a truck payment, and I'm not so stressed out. I'm not hauling cheap freight because I got to make these $1,400 payments on this junky Peterbilt I got that ain't no better than nobody else's truck. I ain't making these $2,500 a month payments on this brand new truck that's sitting in the yard that ain't gonna break down if it's sitting in the yard. But if you want to run and you want to stay out on the road, this is a viable option right here. But you're liable to wind up hauling some freight that you don't want to haul to make these notes. You might be hauling some of this cheap freight to make these notes to keep your head above water. So that's something to think about when you're doing this right here, you know. But it is both. It's a viable option. If you don't have any mechanical skills, you know how to drive a truck. You're a good driver. You've been driving a long time. You got $20,000. You know for a fact this is what you want to do. Is what you've always done. You know, you want a Peterbilt long wheel truck. It's what you want. You want to, look cool. You want a truck that's reliable, under warranty. Probably look at that right there. Because you can get into a Peterbilt dealership, usually better than Volvo or Freightliner, and everything's covered under warranty if you have any issues with it. And if you don't get to come home like I do, I get to come home a lot because I run flatbed regionally. I come home pretty much all the time, really, in comparison to what some people do. So I have a shop and everything, and I know a whole lot about the mechanics of these trucks, and a lot of stuff. So it makes sense to me to do this right here because I can fix what's wrong with it and come out cheaper and not be worried about it. This right here is going to be for somebody that, like I say, is not mechanically inclined, that knows they want to drive a truck. This right here probably makes the least sense of all, and it's the one that most people do. And to me, it really, I mean, if you're buying a truck with 800,000 miles on it, whether it be a Volvo, a Freightliner, a Peterbilt, Kenworth, it's all 800,000 miles. It doesn't matter what body it's in. It's all going to be wore out, and you're going to have to work on it. So this truck here is cheaper than this, so you'll have more money left over after your payment, or if you put the $20,000 down cash on it, maybe you found a truck for 30 grand, you only owe $10,000 on this. Your note's going to be like $300 compared to $1,400. So you can put the money here into this truck to make it better, to keep it on the road. That just does not make a lot of sense to me. Because if you look at this $1,400, say you have to invest $800 a month or something on this truck to keep it going down the road in maintenance. Where are you at? You're in the same category right here. This just does not make a lot of sense to me. But it's the most, you know, what everybody's doing. They're buying older trucks with that many miles on them. And if you look at truck paper or something, you'll see these Peterbilts on there for, you know, $80,000, $70,000, $80,000, the older truck with that many miles on it, and it's no more reliable than anything. You know, a Ford will get you the same place a Chevrolet will usually, unless it's a Power Stroke 6-liter. Maybe not then. But if it's all got the same engine in it, you know, you spec them out right, they all got the same engine transmission, they'll all do you well. It's just got some pros and cons of each. I just don't see the $40,000 price spread to look at a hood. You know, that's from a business standpoint, and it just does not make a lot of sense. I'm not paying $40,000 plus tax, $54,000 for a truck hood. So I hope this explains why I went with a Volvo. You know, I find it to be a comfortable truck. It has probably one of the best turning radius. It has one of the biggest sleepers, and I've not had a lot of troubles with it. In fact, most of the troubles I've had has been with the Cummins engine. You know, they leak a lot of oil and that sort of thing. They eat camshafts. If it's a twin cam Cummins, the CM870, 871, that's always the issue with them. If it's a CM2250, and I don't know, 2350s, I don't have one, so I don't know. But the fuel pumps, I had issues with the fuel pumps going out, the ceramic plungers and stuff, destroying the whole engine. So the Cummins engines is definitely not fail free. I've had quite a bit of problems with mine, but it's still better than what some of the other offerings are in the trucks that we get these days. So in my opinion, they're all junk, and you buy one based on a business decision that you think will maybe not make you the most money, but help you keep the most money. And in my opinion, in my situation, the Volvo does that for me because, you know, it's the same engine and transmission. The truck is obviously cheaper, and it seems to not have a lot of problems as much as the Freightliner. It seems to be just as reliable from what I've seen as the Peterbilt and Kenworth. It just does not look as cool. I'm not trying to look cool. I don't care. I'm trying to pay my bills. I'm not trying to look cool. So anyway, I hope this answers the questions. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.